good afternoon to all of you and welcome to Life Foundation's 6th event. I cannot possibly do justice, even if I was asked to introduce Professor Hegde, an extremely distinguished and eminent speaker. The reason is that it would just take too long and we're here to listen to him. Our own introduction to this extraordinary person is rather interesting. There was an email circulating in the internet titled "How Doctors Cheat People" with Professor Hegde's name as the author. Now, it was a bold expose about medical malpractices that many of us know or suspect. What Sucheta did was ask a colleague of ours to write to Professor Hegde and check whether he had indeed written it. Sucheta herself, okay. We discovered that he had not, and his name had been attached to the piece by someone for two reasons. First, to give credibility to the mail and ensure it goes viral, and it did. Everybody was talking about it. The second reason was because Professor Hegde, despite his formidable string of degrees, qualification and experience in mainstream allopathic medicine, takes a rather holistic view of modern medical practices and alternative medicine. He has an extremely broad view of medicine, which encompasses alternative therapies and treatments, and we at Money Live were thinking of expanding our own coverage of healthcare with exactly this in mind: explain to readers the limitations of modern medicine as well as the malpractices that modern kind of breed, and you can't blame medicine for that. It's really the modern kind of breed, as I was put it, that has brought created havoc among patients. Sucheta wrote to Dr. Hegde requesting him to write for us, and soon our readers were fortunate to receive the remarkable fruit that happens when deep erudition gets pollinated with deep compassion. Following this was another stroke of luck. Professor Hegde happened to be in Mumbai and was extremely kind enough to accept our invitation to speak. Thank you, Dr. and Professor Hegde, once again for being here with us today. As I said, it's impossible to do justice to Dr. Hegde with just a few words, but I will provide some basic details for those who are not familiar. He is a Padma Bhushan awardee and counts many Nobel laureates and presidents among his close friends, but most importantly, he is admired around the world not only for his medical skills but for his insistence on minimum use of medicines and stress on holistic medicine. Professor Hegde did his MBBS from Madras, where he was a gold medalist and won a prize in surgery, did his MD in Lucknow. He's a fellow of the Royal College of Physicians of London, Edinburgh, Glasgow and Dublin. He trained in cardiology at the Harvard Medical School under Nobel laureate Bernard Lown and at the National Heart Hospital and the Middlesex Hospitals of London. He's been the Vice Chancellor of Manipal University and has taught at some of the world's best known medical schools. He holds the rare distinction of being the first Indian examiner for the MRCP UK examination of the Royal College of UK. He is probably the only Indian to be a fellow of all the Royal College of Physicians of the British Isles, including Ireland. He was conferred the honorary fellowship of the Irish College in Dublin recently, given to non-members, based purely on academic and research excellence. He started teaching at a very young age and is teaching even today when he gets the time. The best teacher awards that he's obtained from across the world many times speak for themselves. His disdain against high-tech diagnosis, when the time-tested bedside methods and common sense alone would suffice, must have molded hundreds of future high-quality doctors. A permanent visiting professor of cardiology in the London University since 1982, he has been recently appointed affiliate professor of human health at the College of Human Health and Sciences of the University of Northern Colorado. Hundreds of research papers in the leading science journals in India, UK, USA, Germany, China, and their citation indices stand testimony to the high quality of his research. He's on the editorial board of many Indian journals, and the British Postgraduate Medical Journal, the British Journal of Clinical Research, and as a referee for the British Medical Journal. He's held really in a very, very high esteem in research circles. Professor Hegde has not only written academic articles but has also for the masses in several languages. Indeed, he is so good in communication that he's also written a book called The Art of Public Speaking with a foreword by Nani Palkewala, which sells like hotcakes at Bharatiya Vidyavadin. He has authored more than 30 books both in medicine and other subjects in English and Kannada. Professor Hegde's fight against unnecessary drugging has made him very unpopular among some of his colleagues and the drug companies especially. He's fought against the mighty drug lobby and the technology lobby to make healthcare affordable to the masses. He believes that since modern medicine alone is beyond the reach of 80% of the world's poor population, the solution lies in combining the best in many systems of medicine. He's been working to spread Ayurveda in the West and has succeeded in helping an NGO to start an Ayurvedic college affiliated to Thames Valley University in London, and an NGO in Japan has offered him 4 acres of land to start one of them. His unconventional village development programs, implemented through his university with financial assistance from donors, are being copied all over the place. He has schemes for total health care for the masses, which are yet to catch the imagination of our netas and babus. His paper and action plan for health for all for the next century is drawing attention not only of Indians but for many others in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the doctor with a hand on the pulse of the common man, or as Hari Palkiwala called it, the cardiologist in the heart.
For saving me from so much of bother about an article which I did not write. But the fact was, what was written in that article was 100% true. And the article was all over the world and I was getting so much of hate mail, and at the same time an equal number if not more of fan mail, that was impossible till this beautiful lady wrote a note to me saying that this article of yours is very good, so give us permission to publish it. Then I said, I have not written that at all, how can I give you permission? But she did investigations to find out it was written by an activist in Bombay. We don't want to disclose his name. But that man in good faith put it on the internet. But somebody caught it and said, let us add this ass's name so that it gets some credibility. So they added my name. So that's how it all happened. And I was, sometimes misfortunes bring good luck. This was one of those. I was able to get to know this lady without having met her, and I found she was a very good human being. I like good human beings, irrespective of who they are, what level they are. In my university I used to like, there was an attendant in that lift. He was the best human being that I had met, and I used to always like him. One day, for some reason, somebody didn't like him. They wanted to dismiss him. So the registrar's order dismissing him was on my table. So I said, why dismiss this man? So I summoned him into my office. Normally a peon is not supposed to come to the Vice Chancellor's office, and if he comes there, he'll shiver in his pants. So he thought he will get some real, mouthful of... So I told him, sit down. He said, no, I can't sit in a chair. I said, what's wrong? You are born like me. You will die like me. In between, why this difference? Maybe if you had the same opportunity that I had, you would have been higher than me. I am only a Vice Chancellor. You would have been probably the President of India. Who knows? Then he was still shivering. Then I said, look, if you don't sit in this chair, I will dismiss you according to this order. But if you sit, I might promote you. Then he sat down. Then I asked him, how did this get generated? Then he said how his colleagues who didn't like him working too fast, too hard, etc., created a lot of problems, built a big file. That's how it happens in organizations. Anyway, to cut the long story short, I promoted him. Even today, the university says he is the best person that they have in the university. Humane, compassionate, loving. What more do you want? So we want good people like Sucheta and all of you here. And I met her boyfriend today, another good human being. So, he's a nice, Basu is a nice man and he spoke so well about me. But all good people have good things to tell about others. So don't believe it. Don't believe it. Now all these people have come here, do you know why? You have a problem. And the problem is, you are being schooled to believe that for every ill there is a pill. Right? Now if you read my article in the British Medical Journal, which can be got free on the internet,
called "There is no pill for every ill, but there is an ill following every pill." Did you get that? So don't be very, very enthusiastic in taking a tablet. A little while ago, I was lecturing at the Hinduja hospital. And their highest person, Sri Chand's daughter, was in the audience. So she came and said, "Doctor, you see, when you have a fever, that crocin gives you so much of relief. You say, do you think that we should not take crocin?" I told her it's a very good thing, lady, because you are schooled to believe that there's a quick fix or everything. Now, fever is not your enemy. Fever is your friend. Fever becomes your enemy because you view fever as your enemy. You want to kill the enemy. Any enemy you want to kill, right? No. You use the body in Jesus Christ's terminology. Love thy enemy. You love fever. Nadkardi Saab or Kekri Saab or Pai Madam will tell you, there was a time when we were students, we were producing fever to treat syphilis. Syphilis was a dreaded disease then. It was killing people. And it was like today's, whatever you want to call it, big diseases. We used to call it as syphilis and gonorrhea, where the Surgeon General of the whole thing. And what we used to do as student, boil milk from the milk vendor in the skin department and take it in a syringe and inject it to patients with neurosyphilis. Within about 5 minutes, that fellow will shiver, every muscle will shiver, and his temperature will go to about 106. And then it will come down. And it treats his, so fever is a friend, and it is there because the body wants your temperature to go up to help it to fight. Nothing is done in this world without reason. But our reductionist reason, there is a cause for everything, cause-effect thing, is the biggest hoax and biggest false thing that we are made to believe, that for fever there is a cause. This is very simple thinking, because our forefathers used to think, when you get smallpox, it's the wrath of the goddess. If you get tetanus, the demon has hit you. If you get cancer, some other person. Cause effect, they're right. Today's professor of medicine will come in the ward, he'll see a fever patient, and the registrar will say malaria negative, typhoid negative, but still he has fever, sir. The viral fever, very wise man saying viral fever, he has not seen the virus. That poor virus is blamed for everything. Suddenly in Japan, some years ago, Sucheta, my phone has become alive. It was dead from morning, thanks to Bombay's connections. Now it's ringing, don't worry. Now I'm connected to the world. Now, there was Olympics in Japan. I don't remember how many years ago. Olympics in Tokyo. 2 years before the Olympics, a peculiar disease struck Japan. People became little paralyzed, they became blind, eventually died. So we didn't know what disease it was. So we called it as SMON, subacute myelo-optico neuropathy, which is just to confuse you with Latin and Greek, that's all. It simply means you are blind, you are not able to use your leg, and you eventually die. Then government said, people will get frightened, they will not come to Tokyo for the Olympics, because Olympics is business. Remember that, Olympics is not sport. Now no sport is sport now, it is business. And big gambling. So they thought billions of dollars will be generated and that will be lost. And let me tell Sucheta that if you are suffering modern medical crimes, it is because of money. Up until money came on the scene, modern medicine was so nice. To be very precise, up until the end of the 19th century, even in America, medical treatment was so good, they had modern medicine so called. They didn't call it as, they called it allopathy. What is allopathy? Everything is allopathy except homeopathy. Allo is against, pathy is disease. Homeopathy is homeopathy. It's for the body, again body only cures. Now 1899, up until that time, there was so-called allopathy. Ayurveda was not there, but herbal medicine was there. Herbal medicine was a very big rage in America. Chiropractic came in about 1900. Homeopathy, then radioanesthesia, which was using electric current to treat patients, and shaman medicine, then pranic healing, Reiki, acupuncture, and what have you, Chinese medicine, Tibetan medicine, everything, and equally respected. Then in 1899 to be precise, this D.P. Palmer, he was a medical doctor, he was an MD, thought, and rightly so, that most of the problems are due to the spinal nerves and the brain and the spinal cord. And he said if you set all the muscles right, you will get treated. So he called it chiropractic. So it became a science also. But 1900, America discovered oil. Oil means money. So they thought we can exploit the world oil, fooling the Arabs, and then make money and enjoy life. And their own money, we will probably buy that for $10 a barrel and send them mineral water for $100 a barrel and make money. So at this time, three players were there, three very eminent players. John Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, and D.P. Morgan. These were in different business, competing with one another. Then they realized, with this new thing coming up, we can all join together, collaborate, help each other, and cheat the world. That's how big money is made, by collaborating and cheating the world. What did they do? There were 147 medical schools in America. They were teaching various things. 47 of them were teaching what is called allopathy. They were all funded by Carnegie Mellon Foundation and Rockefeller Foundation and D.P. Morgan's. Now, other 100 medical colleges was teaching various things. Herbal medicine. There are a lot of herbal medical colleges. Acupuncture, Ayurveda, Chinese medicine. No, Ayurveda was not there. Chinese medicine, etc., etc. So they influenced the president of the country, gave him a lot of money, and told him, we will have a one-man commission to inspect the medical colleges and say which are scientific and which are non-scientific. What is the definition of science? There is no definition of science. Anyway, who did they appoint? A man called Benjamin Flexner. No, Andrew Flexner. What was he? He was the headmaster of a school in the Carnegie Mellon Foundation, retired. Now a headmaster of a school who doesn't know what medicine is becomes a one-man commission to inspect medical colleges and decide. Like our MCA. Many of the people in the MCA don't know what medical education is, but they are there. Some good people leave it and come out. But others hang on and destroy medical education in this country. But anyway, now this fellow inspects 147 medical colleges in 6 months and writes a report saying that 47 medical colleges which are using the reductionist pharmaceutical chemistry are the only scientific ones, the other ones are unscientific. These 47 medical colleges ran on Andrew Carnegie Mellon Foundation. Did you understand that? So, with the stroke of the pen, the other medical colleges are closed and America became scientific medicine in America, and the other colleges were all called unscientific and they were not allowed to practice. And whatever happens in America, Britain copies them. And Britain also same order came, but the British royal family lived on homeopathy. So the king said no. And the queen also said no. And homeopathy is still alive in Britain, but now there is a concerted effort to kill homeopathy in Britain. If any one of you is in the habit of reading English dailies, there's a paper called Guardian. On Tuesday, normally you get a large full-page cover by a young doctor called Goldacre. Goldacre is a young doctor who is financed by the pharmaceutical companies very heavily, and is a good writer. He writes such convincing articles every day that homeopathy is dead and don't believe in it. In fact, modern scientific data in quantum physics shows homeopathy is much more scientific than modern medicine. So homeopathy believes in energy treatment, and there is a structure for water, and this water structure is very, very peculiar structure. Rustum Roy, a great name in science, discovered the structure of water with lot of loose bonds in it. Even if you put any drop of medicine into a glass of water or a jug of water, the structure changes. Okay, this is called the signature of the medicine in the water. Then you dilute it in a bucket or in a well, the signature remains the same. So that's one thing. The number two is, if it is in the pill form, all of them are in nanoparticles, so nobody can detect a chemical in that. When you can't detect a chemical, you call it as unscientific. But you must detect a chemical, you should know what a nanoparticle is. So homeopathy is not dead, it is still alive. So I just gave you an idea to know that most of your school to believe modern medicine that we practice is very scientific. If you define science as measurement and measurement as science, probably medicine has no science at all, because most of our diseases depend on our thoughts. I'll give you one small example. It is not what you eat that kills you, it is what eats you that kills you. Did you get that? Your negative thoughts. I want to destroy somebody. I hate somebody. I am frustrated because I didn't become the president of India, Abdul Kalam became. And what happens? These negative things go inside and destroy the functioning of your system inside. You know what your body is? Quantum physics now shows us, and I can take a photograph of that. We got the camera called the photon camera. It's biophoton camera. You are, each one of you is a happy colony of 50 to 100 trillion happy individual human beings, whom we call as body cells. Did you get that? You are a beautiful colony, madam, of, you must be about 75 trillion. Happy, loving human beings. We lived as single cell human beings for millions of years. Then for economic reasons we thought collectively we are better off. We came together and we became a human being. And when we became a human being, this 50 trillion cells, each one was doing the work of a human being. Each one was shitting, each one was squeezing, each one was breathing, each one was eating, each one was working. Then they thought, why all this? Few of us can collect and do certain things. Like in society, you know, with the Varna system, one man will think and do something, he becomes a Brahmin. Another man will clean the place, he becomes a cleaner. And the third man will do only dalal and become collect money. Not Sucheta, because she is against money. But all other dalals are dalaling money. Now, and like this. Now, instead of that, so they formed together and called themselves, we call themselves organs. And today modern medicine thinks human body is a machine like the motor car, which runs by the organs. It's called organ-based medicine. And we have now not doctors, we have no doctors at all. Very few doctors left. We have specialists. What are the specialists? A specialist is one who knows more and more about less and less. And who is a super specialist? He knows more and more about, and comes to a stage where he knows more and more about nothing. Now you have a headache, okay? Now I don't say anybody has a headache. I tell him you are a headache. Now by the time you go to a specialist, because people think headache means I must go to a head specialist. Do you know where you should go? You must go to a family doctor who knows you so well, that the minute you go there and say, I have a headache, he says, hey, why did you fight with your wife last night? You shouldn't do that. You are always like this. You know, you are an irritable character. Why don't you make peace with the, you know? You go home and call your wife and say, honey, I love you. Because even if you love your wife, you periodically have to remind her. Otherwise she'll forget and you might forget. So you say that and your headache is gone. Did you know that? Or supposing you hate somebody, you get a headache. Just sit back and do a quiet anuloma viloma pranayama. Take a deep breath in, breathe out for a long time, and after about 5 breaths, you forget why you were angry in the first place. And you are so happy because the 5th breath when you breathe out, breathing out for a long time, you start smiling. You know, you just forget this word. And if there is a good doctor in India who is doing a lot of good, minus his political leanings, he is Ramdev. Not that he is teaching you scientific yoga, no, because he is doing commercial yoga, but he has created that awareness. And I thank you for that, because millions have become aware of that. One day we were traveling together, he was going to have a big thing in New York, so I was also going for some lecture in New York. So he came to know me, so he came and sat and said, Dr. Saab, I have got a lot of data, you must help me to write up. Then I said, look, your data is so scattered and there's no documentation, because you say you treated cancer, but there is no proof that it is cancer. I want you to have few engineers and some doctors and some laboratory. You authenticate it, write it, I'll tell you how to write it up as a scientific thing. And some secretary called Balakrishna Achar said, give me your card, we will contact you, etc. They contacted me 3-4 times to come to Haridwar. But I said, do you have your thing computerized? I'll come. Otherwise, why should I come? Anyway, there I am told they're trying to do that. They've got a medical school there, they've got a university there. I hope something comes out of it because this is very good. So now we will start. You are a colony of happy human beings. Did you understand that? And your cells love everyone else's cells. They talk to each other and they love one another. And this energy from your cell, which today we can trace, is called photon light energy. It's a very weak light and you can't see it with your eyes, but you can see it with a special camera. Not the crayon picture that you see halo around, that is old. This is inside the body. You can, if I photograph madam, I can see her cells, all of them smiling and laughing and jumping about. When I see some of them are not happy, she has got a disease. So, wellness is happiness inside your system. Illness is unhappiness inside your system. That's all the difference. So what is health? You get up in the morning, ask yourself 2 questions. Do I want to work? If the answer is yes, you are healthy. So the definition of health is enthusiasm to work. Second thing is, do I want to do something for others? If the answer is yes, you are very healthy. That's called enthusiasm to be compassionate. So health is work and love. But that love, younger generation, the spelling is L-U-S-T. That is unhealthy. But love has a bigger connotation. Like for example, in Indian philosophy, love has a different connotation. But Greeks have classified it so beautifully. Simple love is called eros, erotic love. That is L-U-S-T. Then the next level is called phil. You are a PhD, doctor of philosophy. Phil is love, Sophia is wisdom. So if you love wisdom, you become a philosophy doctor. Then the third one is very important. That's called agape. Agape in Greek means universal compassion. You know, you simply love everything, everybody. Your friend, yourself, your wife, your children, others, people think, plus your enemies also. I'll tell you a simple formula. If you're having some disease which doesn't get cured, quietly one day sit in the evening. Nobody should be there in the room. And write down whom all you have been hating. Just write down the list. You may think you don't hate anybody, but if you sit and concentrate, you get few names. Write it on the paper. And then think back. Why did I hate him? What was the problem? Supposing I don't like, let us say, Kinimam. Where is Nagesh Kinimam? I don't like Kinimam. Somewhere Kinimam has, I had some tiff. And that you carry the load on your back. And then your back aches, your lower back aches, your head aches, your heart aches, your esophagus aches, your stomach aches with an ulcer, or your gut aches with irritable bowel syndrome. Now you say, okay, I did hate this man. But why did I do that? And you do a little pranayama, you say, I didn't have done. So get his telephone number and say, Kinimam, I'm sorry, my apologies to you. All these years I have been carrying that hatred towards you, which was useless. I don't need it. You will be surprised. Within minutes, your headache will disappear and you will become healthier. Because your cells again start loving one another. I was telling the Hinduja doctors a little while ago. Body cells love one another so much. I'll tell you how they love a little while later if I have time or if you ask questions. Nimam has sent a big list of questions, which is very good. When they love each other, supposing I hate you, and my cells loving myself and loving madam also, I hate madam. Cells get confused. What is this fellow doing? I like this madam, why is he hating her? So there is that conflict between ourselves. Me, you concept. This is my money, this is my shirt, this is my phone, this is not yours. And we fight for it. Even for 6 inches of land in the compound wall business, we go to the court. I'll give you a joke. A friend of mine went to Gothenburg. Gothenburg is a beautiful city, where if you have a beautiful garden and a compound wall, you get rebate in your house tax. So everybody had one was competing with the other. But this man was taken near a cemetery, near Sucheta's office. And the cemetery compound wall was not there, it was all broken all over. The man was nonplussed. He asked the guide, your municipality, which prides in itself in keeping nice gardens and nice compound wall, has not bothered to spend a little money to keep a nice compound wall here. The man said, sir, that's the story is not complete. I said, what is the story? Those who are inside the cemetery cannot come out. Those who are outside do not want to go in. There's no dispute. Why have a compound wall? You get the point? So we are building compound wall around us and creating illnesses for us. So if you don't want to have a compound wall and illness, live in a compound wall less house. Your house is open to everybody. I wrote to Abdul Kalam and also this Nair fellow when they were trying to go to the moon. I said, why do you want to spend 100,000 crores of the taxpayers' money for sending somebody to moon or sending the spacecraft to the moon? You are not the first. There are 68 countries already have done it. And you are not, can't live in there, because it will take another few hundred years for us to be able to live there. And you are not going to do anything there. On the contrary, today, I wrote to them, on the contrary today, I wrote about 15 years ago, there are 67 million children in India born like you and me who are dying at a rate of 218 per hour for want of food. Want of food. And they suffer from a new disease which I wrote about 15 years ago called AIDS. You all heard about AIDS? Who has not heard about AIDS? How many of you have heard about AIDS? No one. Do you know why? AIDS has money behind it. AIDS has no money behind it. AIDS is such a small disease that only about 30 million people in the world have it. Here in India, we have 67 million people suffering from nutritional immune deficiency syndrome. All that you require is food, not oral polio vaccine, live polio vaccine. Because there is no protein inside, you will give live polio vaccine by the mouth and it can't produce any antibodies, and gastrointestinal tract itself is the headquarters of the immune system. So they mutate into very powerful P1, P3 system. And in India today, the wild virus has disappeared because we have given 30, 40 doses of virus to a poor child. But there are now enough cases of vaccine polio and children are dying. Do you know that? No. According to some estimate by a very senior scientist, about 27,000 children have so far had vaccine polio. Who bothers? Nobody bothers. You think the polio, AIDS is produced by HIV virus? Right, no? Here, anybody doubts that? No. You doubt it? Good girl. Good girl. I want you to read a book written by the best professor of virology in the world. His name is Peter Duesberg. Write down the name. Peter Duesberg. D-U-E-S-B-E-R-G. And the book's name is Inventing the AIDS Virus. What's the name? Inventing the AIDS Virus. And this book has don't read the book, it is a very thick book, but buy it. Read the foreword. It has got 8-page foreword by a Nobel laureate who found out how to find viruses. And that's called the PCR test. All the deans will tell you that they have got the PCR kit in their college. Polymerase chain reaction kit. His name is Kary Mullis. What's the name? K-A-R-Y-M-U-L-L-I-S. Read that foreword in which he says, I quote, Peter and I, they are both working in Berkeley. Peter is the professor of virology and Kary is the professor of chemistry. Now he says, Peter and I don't know what causes AIDS. Peter has his theories, I don't understand because I am not a medical doctor. But Peter and I know one thing for certain which nobody can dispute, because Peter is the best virologist who got the Genius of the Century award, and I am the father of the test which identifies viruses. Nobody can dispute. Peter and I do not think HIV virus causes AIDS, full stop. Read that. Now why is this? Because if you say you are in AIDS research $8 billion is allotted by the NIH for research fund. So everybody wants to get onto the AIDS bandwagon. Cancer is 2 billion, AIDS is 8 billion. Do you know why? That Zadovidin selling company is funding all this because they can't sell that drug because that drug was originally invented for cancer, and when they gave it, the animal died with the cancer. You understand that? The animal also died. Anyway, today, man dying today is statistic in this world, and one of the probably the best method of reducing the population. I mean, population control. If somebody dies, we can always say he died of his own. I did everything. This is what we do. If a man survives, the doctors pulled him out of the jaws of death will be the headline in the moneylife.com tomorrow. If somebody dies, they did everything. You know, they had the best technology under the sun. But a man died, he was destined to die. You know, what can you do? That's what happens. When you succeed, you take the credit. When you are defeated, you blame God. God is very simple. Anybody can blame you. No problem at all. He doesn't come to fight with you. So it's always nice to. Now I didn't tell you about that swan. So there was a pressure on the scientists in Japan. We can't have postpone the Olympics. Find out the cause. Immediately so many people came up. It's a viral disease. Because virus you don't see. So many papers, virus disease. One fellow came out with a fantastic idea. It's a Kuru-like slow virus. It slowly kills you. But there was one doctor, a good doctor, a very good family physician in Tokyo suburb. His name was Dr. Kano. Any family doctors here? This Kano fellow was keeping a record of every one of his patients. And he went through, he had about 10 patients with this swan who died. And he went through the records and he found each one of these patients had taken a medicine for diarrhea, which was in India also at that time, called Mexaform. It's a quinoline derivative. And only those who took the Mexaform died of swan. So he wrote a letter to the government saying that, why can't it be a drug reaction? Then they investigated and they found this is a drug reaction to Mexaform, and Mexaform was withdrawn, disease died a natural death. So there are a lot of diseases that we produce in this country and in the world, which we create the diseases. There is a nice book if you want to read. It's called Inventing Diseases. What's the book's name? Inventing Diseases. And the author is a professor in Germany. Only problem is this book is in German. So if you can buy the book and ask Sucheta to get it translated to English, it will be nice. I have a translation, but personal translation, it is in the internet only. I can't give it to you. It is patented by the author. Now, this book shows beautifully how we create one by one diseases. If you don't get that book, doesn't matter. Go to the internet. There is a journal like Sucheta's journal, which is free, called PLOS Medicine. PLOS. PLOS is Public Library of Science. Then medicine, small letter. PLOS medicine, you open the whole thing, is free. And then you say, Ray Moynihan, R-A-Y, M-O-Y, M-O-Y-N-I-H-A-N, Moynihan. This fellow is the editor-in-chief of the journal, and he has brought out a full issue on disease mongering. Disease mongering. We are selling diseases to the public because we want more people with disease. Supposing I am selling idlis in Bombay. I want even the Maharashtrians to take idlis in the morning. So I sell my idea that idli eating is very good. I have advertisements in the paper, television, and I show Amitabh Bachchan eating idli in the morning and saying, or Sachin Tendulkar saying, idli is strength and things like that. This is called disease mongering. So you drink a drink in the thing, which Amitabh Bachchan drinks, and then you get into disease, so you become a patient. So it's nice, isn't it? This is how we do. Now there is a new thing called disease creep. Disease is creeping on you. When I was young, when we were all young doctors, patient had chest pain, came to the hospital, then we diagnosed heart disease. You understand? Today, no. We go to the high school and then screen girls with an angiogram. You stand in a high school and screen every child that comes there with an angiogram. 76% of the children will have 3 vessel blocks. If you don't have a block when you are young and it grows, you will die before the age of 30 of a heart attack. When you have a block, it gives you what is called protection, which is called preconditioning. So you must have a block. But today, showing the block to you and saying, oh, you are sitting on a volcano, anytime it might burst. So don't even go home, because if you go home, you will talk to somebody and may not come back. If you go home also, I can't guarantee, because you may die on the way. So you must see, if your wife, call her here. If she doesn't have money, ask her to sell her Baggar Sutra. But it's all done when once they find out your purse is thick or you have insurance. Medical insurance is the biggest curse. American medical insurance companies are dying by the day. And all the HMOs, including the latest one is the Harvard HMO, Boston HMO, which has now left about 100,000 patients and doctors on the road, and lot of companies have gone broke, Chapter 11. Because if you are genuinely decompensating for any illness, because today, even if you have a leg ache, you want an angiogram done on you. See, there is a very nice man in our district. He owns a huge temple which has got a lot of income. So he one day told me, I am insuring the whole district for, I told him, you are doing a foolish thing. I would much rather like you to build toilets for all the poor people and give them some drinking water, which he started doing now. You will help them a lot. He insured them. And the premium was about 3 crores or something like that. He paid. Now at the end of the year, nearly about 1.5 crores of claims was rejected by the insurance companies. Now when it is rejected, this man wanted to go to the court, and this lawyer said, don't going to the court, no, will not help. If you can appoint somebody to arbitrate, and if the insurance company agrees, you may like. So he told me, can you arbitrate? I said, if the insurance company also likes, for your sake, because you are done for good for the people, it's a lot amount of work, I will do that. So I had the pile of case sheets in my office, about one full room. One case sheet is interesting, I'll tell you what happened. This was a farmer who was plowing his field and nicked his foot with a lot of injury, small injury. So he said, Namak insurance, we'll go to the hospital. So he went to the hospital. So they said, do you have insurance? He said, yes. Okay, we will admit you, because this requires immediate treatment. So when they admitted, they said, oh, you got a cut there. Supposing we have to do anything, we have to know whether your heart is all right, your sugar, diabetes and all. They did every test that the hospital has. After having done all that, they couldn't get much money. They did everything, CAT scan, dog scan, everything. Then ultimately they said, we will do a skin transplant. Very quickly it will heal. So they did a skin transplant. And the bill was 1,80,000 rupees. And it went to the insurance company. Now the local insurance company branch manager wrote on it in red ink, unscientific method of treating a fresh wound, signed. So I was looking at that and I was amazed by the knowledge of this insurance man. So I called the general manager and said, who is this branch manager of yours? Please, sir, he has done any mistake? No. I want to talk to him. The man comes, in fear. So I tell him, sit down. I said, did you write this? Yes, sir. I said, I will call your general manager and ask you to be promoted. You are not branch manager. You are going to be the general manager or one of the general managers. He said, why? No, you are absolutely right. But how did you know that it is unscientific? Sir, to tell you the truth, I am a veterinary surgeon. Didn't make much money. I joined the insurance company. So, don't get yourself medically insured. Because the best thing is, I'll tell you how to insure yourself. Ensure your health. That's the wellness. Don't insure against your disease. Because today, we don't do health care in the hospital. I told the other day, I wrote a letter actually to Ghulam Nabi Azad. You are not a health minister, you are a disease minister. What have you done for health in India? UNIDO has told us in 1998, India needs 5 things for health. A, clean drinking water for everybody. B, 3 square meals uncontaminated by human and or animal excreta. 4, a roof on top in place of the starlit sky. 5, avoidance of cooking smoke coming into the house. 6, a toilet for every house. 7, economic empowerment of the village women so that they don't die of their children starving and going to bed. 8, educate a girl child up to 20 years at least in school so that she doesn't get married at 13 and produce 6 children by 20. Fertility is 200% between 13 and 20. It becomes 50% after 20. 50, again 25 it becomes 25%. 35 it becomes less. Like that it goes. So best method of family planning. Government saw that and of course kept it under the table because it doesn't get the money. Who gives the money? And I wrote a letter to Abdul Kalam, Madhavan Nair and Sam Pitroda and also our Dadiwala in the Planning Commission. I said, why spend money on rockets? Spend money on children's food. Nobody did it. And 15 years later, today, the Prime Minister in the Red Fort was saying, it is a shame that our children today are dying of malnutrition. Can you believe that? I saw the other day an internet thing going down. They were showing Obama, his facial expression under different conditions. And then showing our Sardar underneath one. Like that. I wrote a letter, I said, now it's a shame, but what did you do? I wrote an article about this in the Bhavan's Journal 15 years ago. I said the child is made in the mother's womb. And the whole child is made in the first 3 months. And if the mother doesn't have nutrition when the child is growing inside, the child is either dead or it is born with defective organs. After it is born, you can feed it both ways, upper end and lower end, nothing much happens. And these two chief ministers passed orders saying that a midday meal for pregnant women. And I told them how to identify a village woman the day she stops her periods and then start giving this. I won't tell you the names because somebody might see this video and then label me as somebody. And I don't want, I have no political affiliations at all. I love humanity. I love humanity. So that's my affiliation. And I belong to what is called Tea Party. That's the party that we have. Now what is important is, if you can correct the nutrition of a mother, you beget a generation of healthy children. Look at the children otherwise. He's born with a small pancreas, a small hippocampus major, a small liver, a small heart, and a deformed intestine, etc., etc. Now this boy, he grows, let us say, to about 20 years, then starts working in the Gulf. There he will be washing the road, but he will get to eat what? Meat cooked in the evening and some solid carbohydrate diet. Suddenly so much of calorie goes in and the pancreas cannot produce insulin. So after 6 months he'll come back with one wristwatch and one gold chain here, one chain here, and he'll come. Usually these are, I see Malayalis and Doctor, or checkup cheyanalle. He is about 25 years. Checkup cheyidinde pansari boy mele. Sugar is up in the skies. Why? Because his pancreas cannot cope with that. And when he's about 35, he gets a heart attack because the coronaries are so small, that thing. And he goes to the school, he can't pass 7th standard because hippocampus major is for memory, creativity, exam, vomiting, etc. Vomiting means book vomiting. That's called the examination. Education is what? Book vomiting, isn't it? He can't do the book vomiting. So this is our curse. And if you don't change it, you don't have a generation of well-help.